The college football season is done, or pretty much over, depending on when you're watching this video. There were some highlights, but let's face it, this season sucked. And today on the Touchback, we're going to look at some of the dumbest moments we saw during the 2020 season. Before we jump into our list, do note, we're not touching on COVID-related stuff like player opt-outs. Look, COVID is the freaking worst and it kinda ruined the season, but there were plenty of dumb things that happened that didn't really have much to do with COVID-19. So with that in mind, let's hop into the dumbest things we saw in college football this year. We start with Pat McAfee on College Game Day. Look, here's the thing. I get Pat McAfee's shtick. He's going for that late 90s shock jock where if he talks really loud and he uses props, no one will notice that he's not saying anything particularly interesting. But on College Game Day, it just doesn't work at all. Last year, it wasn't so bad because McAfee could play off the live crowd and that dynamic sort of works. In the studio, however, McAfee just looks totally out of his element, and part of that is because he doesn't do his homework. He kind of was like when you wanted to be smart in a college class, but you didn't want to put the work in, so you maybe read one page of a chapter you were assigned to and found that one point you thought was going to impress the professor. But if you were quizzed on that point or anything else in the chapter by the teacher, you would just get wildly off script and end up just rambling incoherently. McAfee would have maybe 1 or 2 points in every segment. However, if he was ever asked about anything beyond those points or stats he had in his pocket, out would come the props and the sound effects and the really loud talking. It's dumb. It just didn't need to happen. Notre Dame fans storming the field after beating Clemson was dumb, and not just because it was probably a COVID-19 super spreader event. We all knew Notre Dame was going to have to play Clemson again later that season. And besides that, yeah, it's a great victory, but isn't Notre Dame supposed to act like they've been here before? I mean, all Notre Dame fans want to do is tell you how they're a big-time program and they deserve to be in the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. If you deserve to be in the playoffs and you're a big-time program, why are you storming the field after beating a team playing a backup quarterback and without a number of key players on defense? It's one thing for Syracuse to storm the field after beating Clemson, or even say Auburn storming the field in 2019 after they beat Alabama, because they weren't going to have to face Alabama later that year. But for the Notre Dame fans to storm the field, to have that audacity was just so dumb. And they got what they deserved in the ACC championship game, which was getting curb stomped by Clemson. Also in the inappropriate timing category has to be Dan Mullen, Florida head coach, breaking out the Darth Vader costume in his post-match press conference after the Gators beat Mizzou. Under normal circumstances, Mullen probably could have gotten away with breaking out the Darth Vader costume. It was Halloween after all. However, his erratic behavior during the game made the costume just totally inappropriate to wear. He interjected himself into a fight between the teams, he was yelling at the opposing team's coaches, he just really made sort of an ass out of himself. So while before the game, wearing the costume may have seemed like a funny idea to do, Mullen has really got to know time and place. He had to have recognized the fact that the first question, and probably the first 10 questions he was going to have to answer at his press conference was about the fight and his actions. Answering these questions dressed up in a Kmart purchased Darth Vader costume made Mullen look petty and sort of unqualified to be in a leadership position to begin with. The Florida football program did numerous stupid things throughout the season. Mullen's cosplay, though, has to be the dumbest of 2020. Want to hear something really, really stupid? In 2 years, your Saturday afternoons and 2 evenings every college football season will be devoid from this glorious sound. ESPN, as they are wont to do, went out and acquired the rights to SEC football starting in 2024. For fans, that means we will no longer get to enjoy the iconic CBS music that plays for SEC games on Saturday afternoons. This really is a shame, and it's really dumb that it happened because, quite frankly, the ESPN presentation and graphics package they're just nothing special. That CBS Sound, it's something that I'm sure many of us grew up with. It resonates with us, from Peyton Manning and Danny Warfel to Tim Tebow, and now up into Tua and Mac Jones and Joe Burrow. It resonates with me, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people because it's just so cool and it's so different. Fortunately, the so-called worldwide leader in sports announced that they will be taking that away from us in order to hoard more sports rights for no apparent reason. So dumb, just so dumb. Sure, this is low-hanging fruit, but it does need to be mentioned that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee is really stupid. So stupid, in fact, that we now have multiple analysts and college football experts calling for the return of the BCS. The BCS! People were rioting on the street because of how much they hated the BCS, and it was somehow a better system than what we have now. The selection committee just made a raft of stupid, pointless decisions, hypocritical statements. They walked back on other things. They are just a shambles, a mess, and really, they together have contrived to be the stupidest thing, the dumbest thing about the 2020 college football season. You can let us know the dumb stuff we missed in 2020 in the comment section below, or you could just let us know how dumb you think this list is because it's social media after all. Anyway, for the touchback, I'm Cheyenne Hollis, and don't forget, take it out to the 25.